So everyone, welcome to another weekly webinar. I'm Paul, and this is
Zoe.
we're gonna have to nail down
That's
an
it.
intro, Zoe. We're gonna have to
I know.
we're gonna have to script out an intro that we start with every week.
I
But no,
know.
guys, thank you so much for joining today's session. As we say, we do these webinars every Wednesday at 1 p.m. targeting HR professionals and business leaders, and it's an hour out of your day to gain some knowledge on different topics that we like to discuss, but at the same time come away and have this time for yourself as well. So before we start, can you guys just let us know in the chat box if you can hear us okay? Just say yes if you can. And the topic that we're going to be talking about today is resilience and building resilience for emotional well-being. So Julia says yes, great. Vicky, Kate, Caroline, Julie, good stuff. And there's a couple more people coming on. George, Sally, nice, excellent stuff. So this is obviously a topic that is being discussed a lot at the moment, and I'm actually really looking forward to this topic. Zoe has put together a lot of this content, but in terms of resilience, is a word that gets thrown around a lot currently in the workplace, outside of the workplace. Does the next generation lack resilience is always kind of something that I hear as well. So what we're going to be doing is kind of looking at resilience as a whole, how we can obviously become more resilient, and what we can do within the workplace to build a more resilient workplace as well. So really during these uncertain times, there's definitely a call for more resilience, but what does it even mean? And what can we do to help our employees during this difficult time as well? So as always, I'm Paul. I'm the founder of Everymind@work.com, and I share my own personal experience of losing my dad to suicide and how that impacted me through a lot of the campaigning work that I do. And I'm joined by Zoe. Zoe, just want to give a little bit of a spiel?
Hi, yeah, I'm Zoe Parker. I'm the head of HR for Everymind at Work. So yeah, always been in HR, various companies over the last 20 plus years. So yeah, and recently joined about 2 months ago now. It's going quickly, isn't it? Yeah.
Good stuff. Good stuff. So we're here kind of to share our viewpoints, but also at the same time, if you've been on these webinars, do use the chat box. Use the chat box to share any of your own opinions, any of your own thoughts, and we'll read them out as well and have that discussion around that too. So in terms of resilience, in terms of what we mean by resilience, I think resilience can be used to describe how we look after our well-being, how we deal with pressure, and therefore cope with stressful situations that we are faced with. So we're going to be talking about 6 or 7. I can't remember how many it was. Sorry, how many was it?
7.
7 different strategies and tips to help build resilience in just a moment. But I think obviously it's important that we understand exactly what resilience is. Resilience is also sometimes referred to as the ability to bounce back from challenging circumstances or events. But we believe it's much more than this. And this is just a snapshot and really just shows you how broad resilience is. Resilience is not only the ability to cope better in challenging situations, but also the ability to be flexible, adapt to new things, learn from our experiences, have an optimistic outlook, and know when to ask for help. So this is why resilience as a term is something that I shy away from, because I think it's such a broad term. And I think this last point really kind of stands out there. So before we do crack on, Zoe, is there any experiences that you've had personally where you felt like you needed some resilience? Let's maybe use a workplace situation. Is there any that you've kind of needed that resilience for?
I think when work is particularly challenging, or something goes wrong, or sort of a complete curveball comes from nowhere. I think we're always so busy, and I'm a planner, and I do like to plan things. And I'm not. I guess I'd be described as not being very sort of spontaneous, or I like to know what's happening, and I like to be pretty planned. So if a huge curveball it is to come in, I mean, I can think of one where we were just a cheapy transfer was sort of fell upon us, and literally we were asked to deliver it sort of in a matter of in weeks. It ended up being, and things like that. If you don't have those foundations in place, and you aren't sort of prepared with some of those coping strategies, or you have plans in place, I think things like that can really rock you. I sort of view resilience as being a bit of a foundation, and if you've got those things in place and you're in control and taking ownership of it, then if a real curveball comes in terms of a change or something, something goes horribly wrong, having those foundations in place and those plans really do help.
Yeah.
So I think probably more so in a work situation, just when something happens and you think, God, I didn't expect that, and now I've got to quickly adapt to what they're wanting us to do.
I think that's so key, and like you say, that is for me resilience in terms of what it stands for. Is when I often call it being punched in the face. When you're punched in the face, when something has happened, how are you going to react? How are you going to adapt to it? And I'll share some of my own personal examples through this webinar. A lot of the resilience that I've gained has been through that adversity, probably outside of the workplace of what we've been through. But I always find when I look back on that, those times have increased my resilience and have allowed me to react differently in different situations as well. But I think it's that kind of question of how can we build more emotional resilience. I'm just going to put this out to everyone on the webinar. Just say yes or no. Share some more thoughts if you want as well. Me and Zoe were having this discussion earlier. Do you believe that resilience can be taught? Or do you believe that, we have to almost experience adversity to gain that resilience? Do you believe that resilience can be taught? Just say yes or no on what you believe in that example. Samantha says yes. Vicky says yes. Kate says yes. Joe says yes. Julia says yes. Nice. And I believe a lot of people shy away from trying to become more resilient because they don't believe they can learn it. They believe that it's just maybe a natural trait. I'm naturally resilient. So, and we talk a lot about compassion. Can you learn to be more compassionate? And of course you can. But, lots of people believe it's just a natural trait that someone has. So it's good to see that everyone's kind of on the same page here, that we can learn to become more emotionally resilient. And what we want to do, obviously, is share some tips to help as well. Just quickly, Joe says, I've become more resilient due to the work I've put into improving my well-being. Nice. We'll explain that in a minute, Joe.
Good.
You might have seen the slides. And then George says, yes, to a certain degree, but resilience also comes from life experiences. Yeah, I agree with that as well.
Yeah.
So, Zoe, let's talk about the first point, the first strategy. And this is one that I included in myself because I really wanted to touch on this. And I think resilience comes from us really understanding that vulnerability is a strength, not a weakness. So there's an amazing quote that I share quite a lot, and it's, don't be ashamed of your story, let it inspire others. And I remember kind of the adversity that I faced of, obviously, as I've said, losing my dad to suicide, my own kind of battles of depression, anxiety, other stuff that I didn't really want to talk about. The reason why I didn't want to talk about it is because I believed it may have shown me as weak. At the same time, I just wasn't really wanting to talk about it. But I do believe that I become more resilient as I started to address that rather than just ignore it and not really want to deal with it as well. And I think, I've put there as well, sharing your story doesn't make you attention seeking. It means you're willing to take control of it. I'm sure so many people have been told on occasions, oh, that person's only sharing their story because they want some attention. But, let's be honest, when someone is willing to stand up and share their story and share their experiences of what they've been through, I think that's them taking control of that situation rather than kind of letting it sort of sit there as well. Zoe, is there anything you'd want to add to that?
Yeah, I just think that whole vulnerability piece is so powerful, isn't it? Because sometimes you can see an individual and you think, God, they're so confident, they've got it all together, but then actually they might share that they suffer with anxiety, or there might be something else there. And I think just sharing that really makes people feel more comfortable about thinking it's okay. Or I'm naturally a very sort of chatty person. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily call myself outgoing, but I do suffer with anxiety and I'm a terrible worrier, and I do have to really work on that. But I've remembered meeting people for the first time, and I've been chatting away, and I'll chat to anybody about anything, and people afterwards have said to me, God, I can't believe that you worry about everything. You seem so confident, you seem so assured of what you're doing, you seem so in control. But it's a bit, I mean, I wouldn't say it was an act, but it's just something, and maybe it's because of the jobs that I've held, or I've had to be confident, I've had to put myself out there. But yeah, people do get quite surprised when I go, yeah, I'm a terrible worrier, I have suffered with anxiety up and down over the years. because, and I don't know why, but that sort of what you portray to the outside world sometimes inside is massively different, is it, as you know, Paul?
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's so key. And the other point there is not being afraid to take off that mask and being yourself. And I look back at the times when I was like, yeah, I'm fine, guys, like everything's fine. And from the outside looking in, okay, Paul's resilient, Paul's dealing with this well, but you know, in the inside was telling a massively different story. Whereas now I feel like now I'm more comfortable to share it. I think I feel more resilient than maybe I looked. So I think that's a really important point as well, Zoe. Like you say, it's not
Yeah,
so much how we're being portrayed, but kind of how we feel, you know, ourselves as well.
yeah,
So really, you know, as we say, that vulnerability part, I believe, is a huge part of resilience. And let's be honest, the
yeah,
people that are afraid of being vulnerable, in a way, you know, as I say, they've got that inner dialogue going on of worrying and all of that. So I do believe owning our own stories is really important. The
yeah,
second strategy,
definitely.
ensuring you have your own support network. Do you want to talk about this one, Zoe?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's absolutely invaluable to have, and be it friends, be it family, be it work colleagues, just having that support network around you. I think, you know, we shouldn't underestimate the power of just having a conversation and somebody else listening to you. I think that can be said in your personal life, as I said, be it friends or family. You know, just sharing that problem and talking about it out loud. I mean, I've had instances where, you know, friends of mine have really bottled things up and haven't talked, and I've tried to sort of, you know, encourage them to open up, and then afterwards, you know, they've said, you know what, I do feel better now, just hearing it out loud and having somebody listen and not necessarily give a solution, or, you know, it's just that listening, isn't it? And knowing that somebody else is there, and they might be able to help in a way, they might have a solution, but sometimes just talking or being with like-minded people, like if you are in other groups, it might be a running group or a yoga class or something like that, having those like-minded people there to sort of share what you're going through and have those conversations. I mean, I remember sort of over my life when I got divorced, and I had a bit of a dark period for a while, when things were all, you know, just all seemed that, you know, I couldn't see light at the end of the tunnel, and it was my friends and family that really got me through that. I don't think I did have professional counselling, but just knowing that my friends and family were there, and knowing that, you know, it wasn't going to be like that forever, and that I would get through it, and I would be able to sort of see the light at the end of the tunnel, and, you know, divorce wasn't going to be the end of my life, and I would be able to cope. But I think just having somebody there to bounce my feelings off was so incredibly helpful, and did get me through those sort of darker times, really, definitely.
Yeah, I like that, and thanks for sharing as well. And I think, like you say, it's that just knowing that we're not alone in those periods. You know, when we are going
Yeah.
through those challenging situations where we do need that extra resilience, and it's natural for us to feel like we're on our own. So having those people that we
Mm,
can turn to is really important. And I think we've spoken about this before
mm,
with HR professionals and business leaders, especially during redundancies. You know, if you're in the office and you've got that support network of your team around
yeah.
you, it's very different to making someone redundant at home and you kind of, you know, haven't
Mm,
got that support network. So it's definitely something that I stand by. And at the same time, I think it's that whole don't be afraid to ask for help. You know,
yeah.
just reach out to someone. And sometimes, as I think we've put, it's that ear that sometimes is all you need. They don't have to tell you the solution, they just need to
Mm.
be there for you as well. um
Yeah, definitely. And knowing that, you know, we tend to sort of naturally beat ourselves up, don't we? I mean, I've had so many conversations where, you know, again, friends have shared things and they're going through really tough times for various different reasons, you know, and I always try and go, gosh, look at everything that you've got on your plate. You know, look what you're trying to juggle. You're trying to juggle a full-time job and children and homeschooling and, you know, parents that are sick. And, you know, when you put all that together and go, look how amazing you've been in coping with all that, sometimes just having that conversation and bringing to life what you've actually achieved, because I think we normalize it. I think you live off adrenaline sometimes, and, you know, you think I've got a million one things to do. You live off your adrenaline and you normalize those feelings, when actually if somebody turns it around and says, look at everything that you've achieved, look at everything that you're coping with, it makes you feel like you are doing a good job, and you're not, you know, you're not failing at it. You're not sort of spreading yourself so thin that you're not achieving anything.
Yeah.
But I think we naturally tend to beat ourselves up a bit, don't we, and think that we're doing a bad job.
Yeah, and it's definitely that we have to do it on our own. You know, we have to do this on our own, and I think there's a real key lesson here as well, and just vocalizing it, and the importance of just vocalizing it. You know, sometimes I'll share business stuff that I've got going on with my wife, and she'll just look at me blankly and go, "I've got no idea what you're talking about," right? But at the same time, believe it or not, it still helps me because I'm vocalizing it and I'm sharing it and all of that. So
Yeah.
so really, like, that person that you're sharing to doesn't have to have the answers. You know, they don't have to
Yeah.
be a trained counselor. I just think, as you say, it's so important for that. And also that last point of external groups, you know, running groups, yoga, art classes. I was on a webinar the other day for an organization, M&G, and a guy on there was talking about his choir class. You know, he goes to a choir class, and it's that community element, and even they've carried it on via Zoom. So I think, as you say, being around like-minded people and having that community, it is so important during these difficult times.
This is nice. Yeah.
Good stuff.
Definitely.
Kate says, I think it's important to remember those dark times don't last, and having that support is key. Yeah, 100%. The third one is taking care of your physical health. And obviously, you know, we really focus on mental health and mental well-being at Everymind at work, but at the same time, you know, we know the positive impacts that physical health has on that. You know, a lot of the content within the app itself is you know, focused on physical health as well. And personally, you know, and I know Zoe is the same, going for a run, which I did this morning, is massively helpful for my mental health. And it's as we've put, it seems obvious, but having good sleep, regular exercise, you know, focusing on your physical well-being definitely has an impact on how resilient we feel and how we feel that we can deal with tough situations. With this though, Zoe, and I'd like to hear your thoughts on it, and feel free to share yours as well, guys. I think, you know, looking at times where I've had to face adversity and I've had to find that resilience from somewhere else, the last thing that my mind wants me to do is go for a run, right? And the last thing that my mind wants me to do is eat well and sleep and all of that. And in a way, I know the impact that has. You know, I think of situations like my dad, but also, you know, my brothers. You know, my brother had an accident and trying to get through all of that, and going for that run and just having that time on my own made me feel amazing afterwards, and it made me feel clearer, and we can deal with this and we can handle this. But it took me ages to go for that run, if that makes sense. Do you feel the same? Like, it's very difficult to look after our physical health when we're going through these times.
It is, and when you're in, you know, those sort of dark moments, and whether it is sort of depression or anxiety, or, I mean, I've probably personally, I've probably always had, you know, anxiety, but I think that the period that does spring to mind was when I went through a divorce, and, you know, all sorts of messy things went on, which I won't bore you with. But, you know, I did have a period of depression there, and I think it was my mum that got me through that, to be honest, because I look back now, and she used to literally come round, and she'd, you know, make sure that I got dressed, make sure that I got some fresh air, and, you know, and she and just her encouragement. And because I think otherwise I literally probably would have been there in my pajamas all day, and it's so easy to you lose your motivation, don't you, and when you've got a mixture of all sorts of things going on. And it was my mum that really supported me to saying, you know, you need to get dressed, you need to come out and get some fresh air, and you know, and gradually just that chipping away, and just that trying to be more positive day after day. And it did get easier, and there was absolutely light at the end of the tunnel, and, you know, it was all fine. But it took me a while to get through it, and I could have easily done nothing at that time. So back to the support network again, you know, without my friends and family sort of saying, you know, you need to look after yourself and make it a priority, I could have so easily not done that, because your body, and it's the sort of lethargy and everything, isn't it? You've just got no motivation to do the things that you normally want to do.
Yeah.
So it's so important having that network that really keep an eye on you and make sure that you do things, and you do take those steps forward in the right direction.
And I think it's like you say, it's that friend texting you saying, hey, do you want to go for a walk, or do you want to go for a run, and almost that
Yeah.
accountability as well. And I think coming back to this, and we'll talk about it more in a minute, it's literally the way that I see it is it's just those small wins. You know, when we are dealing with
Mm.
these tough situations, you know, it could be work related, it could be personal life, whatever it is. It's very easy for us to say to ourselves, right, we need to commit to going to like an hour workout in the gym, or we need to go for a
Mm.
long run. But really in those tough situations, it's like, hey, I just want to go for a 10-minute walk. You know, let's just go for a 10-minute walk, see
Mm.
how that makes me feel. And really rewarding myself for those small wins. If I've just, you know, gone for a 10-minute walk, I feel a little bit better.
Yeah.
Rather than saying to myself, I need to go for an hour run, because then your mind's going to almost
Yeah.
talk yourself out of
Too
it as
big.
well.
Yeah,
And Vicky says,
definitely.
sometimes you feel so down that trying to summon any energy feels counterintuitive. Yeah,
Mm.
exactly. So
Yeah,
it's
definitely.
difficult, but you know, I know even when you're looking at your physical health, like just sometimes when I go for that run and I've completed, whether it's, you know, 3 miles, 4 miles, whatever it is, I do
Mm.
feel I feel stronger, if that makes sense. So if you're in the gym and you're lifting heavy weights, you
Yeah.
feel stronger. You feel like you can tackle more that's thrown at you as
Mm.
well. So there's definitely a link there
Definitely.
as well.
Yeah.
And drink water, as you put at the end there. That's really important.
Yeah. Terrible
Yeah,
that,
have you Zoe
yeah.
seen this? This is a lifesaver for
That's
me.
that's good. That's like a tank.
This is a gallon bottle of water, and it tells me when I need to drink
God,
it. But the
crikey.
good thing about it is I fill it up
Yeah.
once in the morning, and it sits by my desk, and I can just get through it as the day goes
And you
on.
have to drink it.
Best
Yeah,
purchase for the
cool.
last couple of months. Tip 4 is very similar, and it's just being kind to yourself. It's nurturing your own well-being, allowing yourself breaks as well, which I think is really important, especially during this time. Zoe's obviously highlighted like going for a walk at lunchtime. I think some people that I've spoken to during this time are going for a walk in the morning as before they
Mm.
start the day, and a walk in the evening when they finish the day, or you know, at 5 o'clock, whenever it is as well. So almost
Yeah.
breaking that time up as well. Being forgiven of yourself is really important as well, and then also, you know, not being afraid to put yourself first.
Yeah.
You've spoken about this,
Be
Zoe, as a HR professional, right? That if lots of stuff's going
yeah.
on, you're not the priority. So how
Yeah.
do you kind of manage that?
No, yeah. And I know I'm probably the worst enemy. You know, I know time and time again that, you know, you have a million and one things on that to-do list, and because a lot of it is very interactive, you know, you're dealing with employee situations and sometimes very difficult situations, so you tend to put those first, and you think, I can't go out for, you know, even if a 10-minute walk, because I've got this huge to-do list to do. But I used to find that the times when I really made myself do it, which to be honest were, you know, were probably less frequent, but when I did make myself do it, just clearing my head did help. And then I was glad I did it. But then, you know, you get to the following day, and again, you're back into that moment of, I've not got time, I've not got time. So it's a discipline. It really is a discipline to almost give yourself that, you know, that time and that self-care. But we are, I think, as a nation, we are pretty terrible at it. You know, our attitude is very much, or our culture is very much skewed towards work, isn't it? And so, you know, whereas other countries have, I know, have more of a balance, but we're very much, you know, we're on that hamster wheel, and we're never going to get off it. And it's a real discipline to,
Yeah.
you know, to have those breaks built in on a regular basis.
Yeah, I think it's like we've spoken a lot about this on previous webinars, but again, it's that we sometimes feel guilty when we're looking after ourselves first. It's dealing with that.
Yeah.
It's also, again, what we really focus on with Everymind is that proactive approach. You know, let's proactively
Mm.
manage our mental health rather than reacting when stuff gets bad. You know,
Yeah.
which I think is really key, because again, when I look at my sort of brother's accident, which was, you know, 3 years ago now, I'd done a lot of work on my own mental health, and so did my mum, you know.
Mm.
So me and my mum were in much better situations to deal with that adversity.
Yeah.
So even though, of
Yeah.
course, you're still reacting, right? Because it's all going on and you're just doing your best. But
Mm.
at the same time, I think we spoke about this as well. Like, if me and my mum didn't do that work, or we went to therapy, you know, we'd managed, you know, to deal with
Mm.
stuff that had happened with dad and all of that. When it comes to Steve's accident, then I think we would have been in completely different places if we hadn't
Yeah.
proactively managed it. So I think that's really key as well.
Definitely.
Um,
Yeah, definitely. And it's back to that foundation thing, isn't it? I think, you know, if you've got those tools or whatever it's called in place, you've got that solid foundation. I do really think it's linked. Resilience is linked to having a foundation of some description in place, and whatever your coping strategies are, and the more you face adversity, the more that foundation gets even more solid, doesn't it? But I think it definitely provides a bit of a rock for you to to help if anything comes comes your way that you have to deal with suddenly.
And it's like we say, it's training. It's almost like you say, training yourself for situations that might arise during this time, being kind to yourself every day, proactively managing your mental health every day. If something happens, then you've almost trained yourself in a way to be able to deal with that in a different way as well. This is something that we're going to probably end up talking about for a long time as well, which is finding balance. Balance is a massive word, and I'm sure if you asked people around me, they might say I work too much or whatever it is, but I think balance is so difficult, but balance is key when it comes to, again, having that resilience. The first point, which I think is really key, is like you say, having that purpose in your life is really important. And I believe that when we struggle to find meaning in what we're doing, we struggle to find meaning in continuing and driving forward. And a big part of why I work so much is because of the passion behind it, and trying to obviously help people with mental health and kind of change the way we kind of look at it. And that purpose really drives me, and definitely makes me more resilient, that if a curveball gets thrown in my way, I'm still kind of on that track to try and achieve what I want to achieve.
And I think maybe it should be reframed as almost like a healthy balance, isn't it? Because I absolutely agree with you. If you're passionate about what you're doing and you enjoy doing it and you want to make it work and you want to help others, or whatever it is that you're doing, that is work. But it's almost more of a healthy work environment and a healthy balance. And actually, if it's making you feel good about yourself, then even if you are maybe working a bit more than perhaps would normally be expected, as long as you're enjoying it and you are still taking breaks, and but for me it's about that healthy balance, isn't it? I think it's when it's an unhealthy balance, and you're working all the hours God sends, and you feel stressful and you feel as though you're under pressure, or you feel overwhelmed, or whatever it might be. That's when it sort of tips over into being more more unhealthy, definitely.
I agree.
But it's something everybody, I think, struggles with, don't they? It's I think we're conditioned to think we must work hard and we must put in, a certain amount of hours. And if we don't do that, or if something happens, we almost feel obliged to deal with it. Even if we've worked our quota or whatever it might be for that week, you sort of, your work ethic makes you feel as though you should be dealing with that as well.
And I think we all struggle with it, right? Because I think the reason, again, this is my own personal experience, but the reason why I struggle with it, and I'm getting better at it, because again, all of these strategies, as you said, is a process. It's not like an overnight fix. But the reason why I've always struggled with it is because I haven't defined my own balance. So what I mean by that is, I work a lot, right? But at the same time, I try and be there as much as I can with family, and I would say that I'm there with my family quite often as well. So I switch off at weekends. I'll put my boys to bed every night and things like that, which are kind of my non-negotiables. But at the same time, like, I look at other people's balance and I say, is that right? Is that what I should be doing? Like, should I be spending more time with my family? And now I feel guilty that, I'm working more. And I think what's really important is we have to define our own balance. Like, what works for us. Some people are very driven by work, and that makes them happy. So let's not make them feel guilty if they work more than maybe they socialize. And I think as well, someone said to me once, which was really important. He said, work-life balance is never like that. Sometimes it's going to be like that, which is like, work's here because it has to be. You could have a project going on, or you could have something going on. And at the same time, life is here. So family, everyone kind of, doesn't get a lot of attention. But at the same time, as long as you can do that, So now, okay, as I think
Yeah.
you've mentioned, scheduling a holiday, or, you know, now work is just less quiet. I'm going to work less. I'm going to spend more time with
Yeah.
family. I think that's fine. It's never going to be like that. I don't believe it's
Yeah.
always going to
It's
be like
never.
that.
No. 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 But it's yeah, and it's fitting in everything else, isn't it?
Yeah,
Have we got the wheel of life, have we,
exactly. Yeah.
on our
So this
next
is a
slide,
definitely
our little
it's a great
exercise?
exercise to do. Has anyone heard of the Wheel of Life?
Yeah. Has anyone done it? I've only done it once. I think it is mostly referred to as the wheel of life, or yeah.
Vicky's done it. Julia's done it. And with the Wheel of
Yeah,
Life, there's
it's a
or the Wellness Wheel, that someone said.
yeah.
No worries, Joe. That's fine. I'll send you the slides.
Oh, thanks,
Drop me an
Joe.
email, Joe, if I haven't sent them to you. But with the Wheel of Life, again, we've got two examples here that I've just pulled from Google. And the one on the right is obviously just someone doing it themselves, but obviously the one on the left is different. And I think the Wheel of Life, there's loads of different ones out there, and like we said, there's the Wellness Wheel,
Mm,
and those segments of the pie, I guess you can kind of say, it can be defined in your own way.
yeah,
So kind of the one on
yeah.
the right, you've got spirituality, career, health, finances,
Mm,
relationships, fun, learning, and giving. And what you do is you kind of grade yourself out of 10 on each of those areas, and kind of
mm,
shade in the part of the circle in relation to that score. And then you can kind of almost look at that and say, for the example, the one on the right, oh, I don't give as much, so maybe I need to focus on that area. Whereas
mm,
I'm having quite a lot of fun, I feel like I'm learning a lot. So you can kind of shift your attention to that one part of you as well.
mm.
Sorry, did you do something
And
similar?
it's amazing. Yeah, we did. I did it with a group of friends. I think there was about six of us, and we were. I think only two of them had done it before, and the other four hadn't, including myself. And so we were sort of looking at one of our friends to sort of guide us through it really. And she was sort of saying, yeah, there's no right or wrong, and as you said, those segments can be labelled differently to make it more more pertinent to your own life. But it's a real eye opener, and obviously those segments will be shaded completely differently depending on your life circumstances. So around the table we had so many different lives. I think everybody had kids apart from me, so obviously they were perhaps struggling with not spending enough quality time with their children. Obviously that wasn't an issue for me, and so you'll get so many differences, but just having that conversation around what makes you score like that, and a load of feelings of guilt came out really, because people were sort of saying, well, I've scored myself really low on that because I think I'm bad at that, or I don't see enough of my family, but then just having that discussion around, but look what you do and look how much time you spend doing this or doing that, and again it was we were all sort of beating ourselves up thinking that we could do much better, when actually when we heard the opinions of others we realized that we weren't doing a bad job after all, and we were just being too hard on ourselves. Because I think day-to-day life now is really, really hard, isn't it? And we're juggling so many different things, and especially if you've got children as well, or you're dealing with sickness in the family, or you literally are darting from one thing to another, trying to help everybody and fix everything, and it's no wonder we often feel a bit overwhelmed because there's just so much going on.
Yeah.
But I think doing it with other people, if you are going to do the exercise, is actually quite good, because it sparks a discussion as well.
Yeah.
And then you can help each other with solutions. So what we found was, if somebody thought they were really unbalanced in one area, the other the other members of the group were sort of saying, well, what about this, or what about that, or have you thought about maybe doing this, and it just sparked suggestions really as to how they could improve that segment of their wheel. I also know people that do this daily, and I was a bit like, oh crikey. So I think that would be pretty hard going to do it daily, but I know one lady that does do it daily, and literally, the start of her day, she'll have a look and she'll do some planning, and so that's quite a discipline to do it daily. But yeah, I guess it's whatever helps you, really.
Sorry, I'm just going to go to the next slide, and then I'm going to go let my family in because they're just knocking on the door. So 2 seconds. So I'm going to let you
Oh,
carry on with tip
have you
six, and then I'll be back.
have you locked
I've
them?
locked them
Have you
out.
locked
Yeah,
them out?
2 seconds. Carry
Oh
on,
dear.
carry on.
I'll be back. Yeah. So tip number 6 then is keeping things in perspective, and really sort of focus on gratitude. I think I personally think that resilience has got a lot to do with what we call a growth mindset, and you'll have probably heard about that in coaching scenarios. But really reframing how you approach things, and your, I guess, your reaction to them. Again, we've probably heard a lot about, the way you react to things, the way you react to situations, and your mindset can have a real I guess effect on how that situation is taken forward. So if you reframe a crisis and think, do you know what, this, I shouldn't look at this as a crisis, I'll look at it as an opportunity, or an area for learning or growth, or and just reframing, seeing it as a crisis, focusing on the positive, focusing on the what can I gain from this situation, what can I learn from it, how can I reframing it, and really having that, I guess, hopeful attitude. Really, I think the minute you frame something as being negative, or a blocker, or a crisis, or this is going to stop me from doing X, Y, and Z, your mindset is immediately in, or almost like a blocker position. It's not thinking forward, it's not thinking, right, how can I grow from this. And having that real emotional resilience just really helps you embrace the challenge, embrace the change. I think part of it is knowing that change is inevitable, and the more we put plans in place, the more we try and reframe our thinking, the more it will prepare us for that change, and seeing it as more of a positive than something, because a lot of times I guess change is scary, isn't it? And particularly if you do have your routines, and like me, you're a bit of a planner, and you like to know what's going on. So one day the curveball comes in, that change is scary. But I think having that emotional resilience and having that growth mindset can really, strengthen you, and strengthen that resilience to really cope with it, even when things go wrong, which inevitably they will. So
I agree. And the family are now lit in. But I think perspective and gratitude are the two things that I personally talk a lot about, because I believe they are really key to getting past these dark times. And I do believe as well, perspective doesn't mean that we're squashing our problems. So sometimes when we're going through a certain situation and we say, oh, if I put it into perspective, this isn't such a big issue, it can sometimes have more of an impact on us, because then we're like, why are we worried about that? All of this bad stuff is going on. And I'm here worried about, redundancies, or whatever it is that's kind of causing us to struggle at this time. But perspective, I think, just gives you that more optimistic outlook, like Zoe said, because it just kind of allows you to see the bigger picture. I think journaling helped me massively with that, because when it's up here, it's really hard to deal with. But when it's down on a piece of paper, you, like Zoe says, you can almost see it from a different angle, and you can start to put it into perspective a lot more. And then off the back of that, I think, as you said, gratitude, just really, this is a tough situation. This is terrible what we're going through right now. But equally, I'm very grateful that I've got X, Y, and Z, and like I talk a lot about it now. And as you said, it's a process. It wasn't an overnight fix. But the reason why I can share this experience of my dad, and I talk a lot about, what we went through, is because I am now just so grateful that I had him for 18 years. I had an amazing dad for 18 years. And when I put that into perspective, a lot of people didn't have that, so I think it's when I was in that mindset of, oh, this has happened to me, I wish it didn't happen to me, I'm never going to get over this. As you say, you're in that very fixed mindset. Whereas when we put it into perspective, and we realize that we've got a lot to be grateful for as well, it puts us into that growth mindset as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And that, and just being thankful is, I think just, I mean, you see a lot of it on LinkedIn, don't you? What's your positive of today? What you're thankful for today? And you see people commenting on that, but it does really force you to think, do you know what, things aren't so, aren't so bad after all. I should be grateful for X, X, Y, and Z, because there's always people that are, people that are worse off, and it's that there is a lot to be grateful
and like
for,
you said,
isn't there?
you have to force it, because in these
Definitely.
situations, your mind it's a given. Your mind is
Yeah.
naturally going to be thinking about the negative, right? So it's almost
Mm.
like you say, you have to force
Yeah.
it upon us as well. And then the final one
Yeah.
is being proactive and in taking that next step. So there's a lot here around kind of ownership of what you can control, and letting go of those that you can't. And I believe, again, is that taking responsibility. A lot of people feel like taking that responsibility creates more burden, but I almost see it in the opposite way. If I'm taking that responsibility, then I've got more control in a way over it as well. And also, we've spoken about this on previous sort of webinars. It's that almost focusing on detachment and accepting that stuff has happened and we can't control that, and detaching ourselves from the outcomes as well, which is of course very difficult to do if you're an empath or if you do struggle with that. But I think, that detachment and acceptance is really key to build more resilience as well.
Yeah. And you hear lots, don't you, about, you've got choices in life, every day you've got choices, haven't you? And if you don't take control of those choices, almost like your life is being done to you then, isn't it? And so if you're not happy with it, or you're being a bit self-indulgent, thinking, oh, this is wrong, that's wrong, you have to be proactive, as hard as it is. And especially if you are suffering with a depression or something like that, it's so difficult to take ownership. But I think looking at it from a building resilience perspective, if you don't take ownership, and you don't take ownership for the decisions that you're making, and the choices and the routes that you're going down in life, you can't sort of say, well, I'm blaming this or I'm blaming that, because you have control of those choices. They may not be all the choices that you'd want. You may want to have lots of other, maybe there's a perception that your life could be far better. But I guess at the end of the day, you dealt what you dealt, aren't you? And you have to deal with that, whatever that might be. But you've still got what do they say, choose your attitude. You've still got those choices, haven't you, about how you react to those situations, and the attitude that you bring to that situation. You've
And I
always got
think
a
as well, it's like we
choice.
said, it's being proactive now, being proactive now, getting yourself in the right place, that when these situations do arise, and they're going to arise in different ways, I'm going to be, as I always say, punched in the face many more times. And it's what can I do now to proactively make sure that, I'm in that place to be able to deal with it
Yeah.
as it comes as well. So before we move on, guys, I'm
Yeah,
also cautious of
definitely.
time. Let us know in the chat box, what do you do that's helped you stay resilient as well? Is there anything else that you want to share? Feel free to kind of share it in the chat box. And in terms of how how more resilience can benefit the workplace, it's development opportunities are more readily taken up, given that part of having a growth mindset is wanting to learn. So obviously within a lot of organizations, sometimes as development opportunities arise, there's a sort of hesitancy around sort of people doing it. So if we can sort of establish more resilience within the workplace, it's definitely going to have employees are going to have more of that growth mindset. It's problems and challenges are approached with a different more can do attitude. One thing that I love on my team as a whole is kind of people when they just want to move it forward and almost in a way attack rather than defend, if that makes sense. So it's really, as you say, that we can do this, and trying to drive it forward as well, which I'm sure you can agree with as well. And then the communication is improved amongst employees as they feel more empowered to act and contribute. So in your experience on this last point, have you seen that in your sort of, corporate experience, of people maybe not wanting to communicate or not wanting to share their own ideas because they do lack that resilience in a way?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously, if people have experienced knocks or setbacks or whatever it might be, it can tend to knock your confidence as well, and you can think, gosh, this has happened to me, and is it me? Is it something I've done? Is it, or is it something I've not done? And it tends to be a confidence, and it can link to sort of a lack of self-esteem. But I think if you feel as though your input is valued, and that in itself builds that sort of empowerment, it's not a tell. It's more of a two-way dialogue, and when leaders are being more sort of collaborative, and they do genuinely, want the input, that in itself generates the feeling of being empowered and being able to act and contribute. Because I think not feeling as though you are resilient can have a massive knock-on effect, can't it? It's almost, it might cause you to either not want to try something for fear of failing, or so I do think it's linked into confidence as well, definitely.
Yeah, agreed.
But yeah,
And there's
definitely.
so many other benefits of it as well. And then finally, self-care is seen as a priority, not a
Yeah.
luxury, and time is made to do it properly. And I think, what we're finding with a lot of the organizations that we're working with at Everymind at Work is as a business, you want to provide the support to your employees, but at the same time, you want those employees to feel empowered to kind of manage their own mental well-being and, focus on their own
Yeah.
self-care as well, and almost not, handing it to them as well. So really, it's, as you say, as employees that become more resilient and they focus on their mental health and they understand the importance of it, it really has a massive impact on, as we say, productivity, job satisfaction, etc., and loads of other benefits come with it too. So really, kind of to conclude, remember to try and remain calm and keep things into perspective. Accept change as part of living. Change is inevitable, and it's just accepting that that's going to happen. Taking ownerships of your goals and being proactive in controlling the journey that you're on. It's looking for opportunities to grow and learn always. Nurturing a positive view of yourself and prioritizing self-care. And obviously trying to find your purpose and maintaining a hopeful outlook. And like we said from the get-go, this is a process. I believe that resilience can be learned, but at the same time, it's a process. It's not going to happen overnight. And I believe, I think, as George has put on the last one, I believe resilience and learning resilience can be sped up if we do go for adversity as well. It's almost like you have to figure it out very quickly when you're going through those tough situations. But it's definitely something that we can learn if we are more proactive with it as well. And just to kind of finish up, guys, empowering your employees, encouraging them to manage their own mental well-being is, again, something that we're always looking to do at Everymind at Work. And one thing that we've literally just launched on Monday is a brand new feature, which is the Everymind Scores feature. And we have 6 different questionnaires, mini questionnaires around different 6 pillars of mental health. Very similar to the Wheel of Life, actually, as well. We're looking at self-esteem. We're looking at work-life balance, which is really important for what we've discussed today. We're looking at, anxiety and worry. We're looking at mood. We're looking at connections and relationships and lifestyle. And what this does is it allows your employees to go in, and they can obviously do these quick questionnaires on those 6 pillars. We then give them a baseline score based upon our algorithm that Dr. Lauren Callahan, our head of psychology, has created. And the main thing for this is off this score, here's some suggestions. So here's 8 pieces of content, a meditation, a video, whatever it is, to improve your score and to improve it. And really, like we say, allowing your employees to have the tools within their pockets to manage their overall mental health and mental well-being as well. And of course, with this new feature, we're working with our businesses, depending on how many employees they have, to provide the anonymous analytics back and highlight, as an organization, you really need to maybe start looking at the overall lifestyle and how you can support that. And of course, we're trying to help businesses in that way too. So guys, if you want to find out a little bit more about that, as always, you can go to the link, which is everymindatwork.com. I'm going to type it up here, /inquire. Just fill out the form. It'll literally take you less than a minute to do so. And then we'll be in touch with a little bit more information about that and how it can obviously help your employees as well. So guys, is there any questions that you have? Or Zoe, is there anything else that you want to add before we finish up?
I don't think so. No.
Sandra said great webinar, which is good.
Covered whistle stop tour.
I hope you found this valuable as always, guys. Like we say, it's a time for us to talk, which we both like doing by the sounds of it, and it's also a time for us to share what we're seeing. At the moment we're working with, as we say, 65-70 companies since we launched in March, and we're starting to see more topics being discussed and more areas that we need to support, and we're utilizing that and trying to put on these webinars to help you as well during this time for free. George says it's hard, but companies can foster problem-solving skills, social connections, and allow people to reach out in trouble. Yeah, definitely. Vicky says problem-solving skills is a good shout. The change curve is also an excellent resource. We'll definitely check that out as well, the change curve. But guys, if there's no questions, again, I really appreciate you joining today's webinar. And once again, if you do want to share this webinar with any of your connections, we run these every Wednesday at 1 p.m. without fail. Just go to everymindatwork.com/live training, and they'll be able to sign up for free and join us as the weeks go on as well. Caroline is really enjoying these weekly webinars, something I look forward to, which is good, which is what we're here for. But yeah, enjoy the rest of your day, guys. Enjoy the rest of your week. And from me and Zoe, I appreciate you taking the time out, and we'll see you all next week.
Yeah.
All right, guys. See you soon.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thanks, guys. See you soon. Bye.